Hi, it's Chris again with FOREXtherapy, where the Forex market intersects with philanthropy. And this is Friday, April 24th, and our episode 13. And I have refreshed our long-term charts over that was reflecting a lot of activity in the last 3 weeks, almost a month now. And I wanted to clean it up because we're into a new trend soon to end. To not spend too much time on the past, but this is the main trend. We were trading most of the month of April, and it broke out. And ultimately, after about 6 days, some cases felt like 6 weeks, because every day feels like a week sometimes. 150 pips in 6 days, right about here at the, let's just say 780, I think it was, or the previous support was on this price right here. So that's 150 pips in a week. If you were trading a standard lot, that would be that'd be about $1,500 in a week, or $300 a day. I can live on that. I think that's nice. There was a lot of ranging and movement over that time frame, as you recall, and almost a little bit of a fear that at around this point we had a we didn't quite have a new trend, but it looked, let me try and draw this in here somewhere, right about here. I'm going to zoom in a bit, 30-minute chart, and show you where, okay, so you see this, no, it's not quite perfect. Okay, yeah, here we go. So this is something that we have to contend with when you're in the moment of not knowing where the price is going. I mean, looking back at charts is easy. It's hindsight. You can see clearly where it went. But let's say that I'm looking at this line here. It's a thinner line. Started here, crossed through here, right through here. A lot of consolidation at the last minute, and then it faked out, basically. But it took off. And when this is all you see, let's say this was the current time frame right here. If that's all you see, yes, it's a continuation of this triangle. It's definitely a triangle here. And because it was coming from the north, meaning it was a down trending triangle, the rule of thumb for that continuation pattern is that it ultimately will break out and go down, which it did. But when you're in that moment and you're seeing this trend line that's being respected all the way along here, and you can count at least 3 points of confirmation, three taps of this line, and then you see this breakout, you could go, uh-oh, what if this, sorry here, this mouse of mine is so incredibly sensitive and old. So let's just say you envision this parallel channel here, which yes, ultimately would, because it's sloping upward and uptrending, it would have broken out. And in fact, that's exactly what it did do. But when you are, we talk about the 3 points of confirmation on a trend line and then a breakout. I think this is what I was trying to draw. Okay. If you can just focus your eyes right now on the thinner of these two lines, this one here and this one here. You can see this perfect parallel here, and it's tapering off, yes, but it's appearing to, I'm trying to get this right, trying to break out right here, right here. And all you see is this channel coming downward, and you're thinking, well, you know what? It's going to turn around and bounce back up. So really, in that moment, what I'm trying to say is, I was questioning whether this was going to continue on downward, even though everything said it should. The market will, the market moves in a lot slower pace than you think. I mean, if you get down into the minute, you see lots of quick movement, and you're like, oh, in and you're out, and you lose or you win. In a longer time frame, it appears to take longer, but there's no reason to think that it could not have pulled back up. And so, how to trade this? If we entered up here at 130, which was this breakout, and just held our breath and said, this thing is going to move around for a couple of days. Let's just not give up. Let's hold the faith. It'll eventually hit this point down here. And it did. So I'm just touching on the fact that while you're waiting for paint to dry and grass to grow and flowers to bloom, there's a lot of time in between you have to kill. And so one way to kill it is to play around and go, well, I'm going to trade some more. Or I'm going to see something through the kaleidoscope that really isn't there, but it sure looks like it is. So I'm bringing this up again, not for fear, but for just to confirm that this is the reality of what we're working with here. We can't look ahead and see really now what's developed, which I'm enjoying, is that this was forming an uptrending channel interior here, and it broke out even down to here. So that's just something I want to bring up, because I know I was experiencing some, you sort of begin to doubt, and particularly, I'm trying to help you learn, and I don't want to look like a fool and tell you it's going to go this way, and then it turns around and goes the wrong way. So I have a bit invested in here in terms of credibility, but it just brings back you to the initial prime directive, to use a Star Trek term, is if you have a proven strategy and there are certain factors that are met, then stick to it and don't be distracted. Now you have to, if you entered late in this breakout here, you might have seen profit go under. Like if you entered down here, which you really shouldn't have, you could have seen some movement underwater and been in the negative for a while, and that's angst provoking. But all in all, we had what was proven breakout here, and a profit target that eventually was hit. Okay, so let's focus on the present and what's heading our way and what appears to be heading our way. So I illustrated this trend breakout, which was accurate. In fact, if you want to pull this line a little further, that sometime later it did retest it before heading on down. So that's great. So now where we are today is, and I'm going to zoom in even further now, the 15-minute chart. And I hope you see, the more you watch these, the more this becomes so you can almost see them in your sleep, and you can beat me to the punch before I tell you where I'm going with it. It's not going to be perfect. Where's the perfection here? All right, let's just say that is a new downtrending channel, and what appears to be a breakout any moment now. The question is this the second point? Because it's not, the candle is not firmly sitting on the line as it is here. This is always point number one. This is 2 or 3. We're getting ready to have, even as we speak, the third touch, or maybe this is the breakout, although it looks a little sputtering. It's not moving robustly. So I'm going to think this is maybe number 3 here. It'll pull back. Remember, we have consolidation that just sort of tap, tap, tap at the very last minute. It seems to gang up here, the spring coils, and then it pops out. So it is Friday. Actually, as I look at the clock, the market will be closing in an hour and a half. It's going to be slow. That's just the way it is. The so-called trading weekend is fast approaching. So there is usually less volume, less activity. If you're in warmer climates, it's getting nicer and maybe it's time to get into the pool. Certainly can't go play golf or anything right now, at least not in Palm Springs. So yeah, I'm not looking for any big activity for the rest of this day. Possibly Sunday afternoon, maybe quiet as well. Monday, I would expect this to have moved up to this line here. And ultimately, where I see this going, as you can see already, if this is 1 and this is 2, and then we're going to hit a third point here, sometime in this frame here, we're going to see some consolidation, tapping on that line before it breaks out. And when it breaks out, look at that, 100 pips. And I know that because if you take the arrow and lay it right there, that is the depth width of this expanding triangle is what they call it. You can call it what you will, but this is an open wedge triangle, whatever. The triangle to me needs to come to a point, but I think that the pros call this an expanding triangle, assuming that this at least were to taper up down here. Call it what you want, I don't care. I'm going to pull this out and project it from the trend line to a profit target. And the reason I've chosen this profit target is at the moment, the way this channel looks, it's not going to go up to here, which is the super high, if you will. It could, and it probably will, because the price does like to go to find the highest high and the lowest low. But I'm trying to illustrate a more conservative approach where you will still get 100 pips, and that is that's what $1,000, right? I already got 1,500, got 1,000. That's what, 2,500 in the month of April. I'm not complaining. So let's just pull it down to here for conversation. And we have a high ceiling here. We have a lot of taps along here. And I think it's a safe target that the price will come up to this point at least, if not to here. So if it comes to here, then we've got 100 pips in the making. And looking ahead, I believe it's logical that, let's draw a line here to here. Now this slope may be too steep, it may be actually further out, but conceivably, that's what, April 28th. Today's 24th, 5, 6 is weekend, 7 is Monday, 28th is Tuesday. I think it's conceivable that from where we sit today at this level here, that this incline slope taking us to about Tuesday makes sense, because as today is ending and Sunday is open but weak as you're going into the late night hour of Europe, or late night for us, that's Monday morning. I think Tuesday is realistic. I think Tuesday is optimistic that we can have that 100 pips. So yay, more videos for you to watch, more for you to observe along with me. You can go online and find this chart. It's free. You look at the long address bar here, you probably could copy it and find it. There are several, so I'm not recommending anyone in particular so that I don't get anyone complaining that they weren't recommended. I have a preference, and it's simple. And follow along. I also suggest that if you haven't by now, it is also free to go to one of the mini brokers that I have illustrated in episode 1, I believe, 1 and 2. All the different brokers that are available. I'm familiar with 2, one of which I use, and open a demo account. Just go online and say, I want to demo trade. And what that means is you are not using money, yours or anyone else's. You're just practicing and playing. You're placing trades, and you make mistakes, fine. If you win, fine. And you can watch this little account grow in size and value. and you've not risked any of your capital yet. I say yet because after you see how successful you can trade in a demo environment, you're going to like, well, why am I not making money? And that's a good question. So then you would open a live account, and there's forms they want you to fill out. And these days, there's all sorts of government watchdogging and anti-terrorists and all that business. So there's forms to fill out, but then you have the opportunity to fund that account. I would say start small, make a little bit of money. It takes time. This is not something that you're going to dive into immediately and become a millionaire. I need to be straightforward about that. But just take baby steps until you have confidence, because confidence is the key here. Added to these charts, which have no emotion whatsoever, they just do what they do. So when you have confidence in how the waves of the ocean roll here, you'll get into the rhythm, you'll add more money to your account, and in short order, you can do what I did for this exercise, was just take $1,200 randomly, and say, okay, in 30 days, the goal is to hit X amount. I think it's going to come close. There was a week of, again, I said this sideways movement where I might have kind of fiddled and faddled and um, made a little, lost more, because I think I was just getting a little caught up in the movements here and whatever was going on in COVID land. But these are some really strong profit moves right here, which I think by the end of April will have hit the goal that I had challenged us to hit. And that if we were all trading with a full deck of lots here, we would essentially be replicating any income, either adding to income you already have, congratulations, or like now, since April 1st, it's now what, 30 million people? I think it was like 6 or 7 million. Now it's 30 million people who have no employment. And that's pretty bleeping scary. Sorry to laugh, but I think new normal is not what we're used to. So what I'm trying to show you here is how to soften the blow of being in a job-free environment, and with patience and growth of your account, you may say, you know what, I make more at home on my computer than I would 8 hours in some place. So I think that's where I'm going to end it for today. Let's take a quick peek. Let's go back to live television. What's going on in this more micro environment here? And that's too close. Back up. And I am seeing, oh, come on. Okay. Well, I definitely see 3. And no, this is not Walgreens. I see 3. I see 1, and there could be 2 here. This, I could zoom in, and maybe there's 2 taps on the line there, but let's call it 1 for the moment. That may be 2. This is definitely 2. This is definitely 3. If this punches through significantly, like above this wick, then this is the breakout. Especially if it pulls back and touches the line, but does not end up below it again. So if it breaks out and pulls back and stops here, and then wants to continue on, that's another confirmation that you've had a breakout. Not a breakup, a breakout. And so I think this is just going to be very leisurely. It's 12:30. There's an hour and a half to the close of market. I'm expecting this to just kind of linger for a while, and don't be surprised on Sunday. Sometimes there'll be this accumulated trade orders that have piled up at the broker, and then on Sunday suddenly you see this huge pop. And what that means is after the market closed, they're having to tally up any outstanding orders that were put in that haven't been executed, meaning they haven't ended up on the chart. And that's why sometimes it's Sunday afternoon when you rejoin the market, you may see a big move that you're like, how did that happen if it was closed? So that's just to give you an idea that what's happening Friday afternoon is there's a lag of orders. Like if I'm putting in a buy order right now, it might not get counted and might not add to the mass of orders on this chart and it may reveal itself come Sunday. So Sunday is a tricky day. Sometimes it's really great, sometimes it pulls back quite a bit. But it usually corrects itself by the end of Sunday, and then into Monday you're back to normal. So don't be surprised if you see, a profound move in either direction come Sunday at least 2 p.m. in my time zone. Um, that's what's happening, or why it has happened. I think they call it a gap, where you'll see like no candles in between, and then suddenly you see the price went someplace else, um, and that explains that. All right, good enough for now. Have a wonderful weekend, which could be a continuation of the week. Either way, enjoy yourself, to stay safe and happy and healthy, and I will either speak with you again on Sunday or Monday for sure. Take good care.